managerial accounting, disposing of under or over applied manufacturing overhead. Now, there are two approaches to dealing with over or under applied manufacturing overhead, and they have to do with how large the dollar amount of that over or under applied overhead is. If the over or under applied overhead is considered to be a significant dollar amount, and by significant, what we mean is that it is large enough to make a difference in the decision making of users of the financial statements. So if the dollar amount is large enough to make a difference in decision making, then what we have to do is prorate that amount among all of the accounts affected by that over or under applied overhead. And let's think about what accounts would be affected. The applied overhead is charged first to work in process inventory, and then when the products are completed or the job is completed, the cost may flow into finished goods inventory, and then when the product is sold, the cost may flow into cost of goods sold. So there are at least three accounts that are affected, or rather I should say there are at most three accounts that are affected by this over or under applied overhead. So that difference will have to be prorated among those three: work in process inventory, finished goods inventory, and the expense account, cost of goods sold. Now, we're not going to worry about how that amount of proration is calculated. That's more of a accounting type thing. I just want you to be aware that if the dollar amount is large enough to make a difference in users' decision making information, then we have to prorate that difference. Now, the method that we're going to focus on is the second method, and that is the method that is used when the amount of the over or under applied overhead is not large enough to make a difference. It's just a small difference based on the fact that estimates very rarely agree completely with actual. So if it's an insignificant amount, what we do with that difference is we simply adjust the expense account, cost of goods sold. We adjust cost of goods sold. Now, if the difference was an over applied amount, and remember with over applied, the applied is greater than the actual cost. And what we're trying to get to is get the estimate back down to what the final actual costs were. So in this case, applied was greater than actual, so we will subtract that difference from the calculated cost of goods sold. Now, if the difference was an under-applied amount of overhead, and again, insignificant, too small to make a big difference in decision making, then the under-applied overhead, because applied was less than actual, we will have to add that difference to the calculated amount of cost of goods sold. And we'll see this adjustment on the cost of goods sold calculation in the next video.